My name is Luke Thomas. I'm the founder of Friday. We're building a command center for working from anywhere. So, specifically, we can help you roadmap and plan your day if you're an individual. If you're a team, we can help you stay in sync. And if you're a company, we can help you create kind of this operating system so that you can really replicate the habits that the best remote and distributed companies are doing with software instead of trying to figure it out all on your own. I also try to provide some regular commentary on what I see. So I've been working remotely for like 8 years, and I've been thinking a lot about what we should expect next. And I always try, if I see something interesting, I always try to record a quick video so that you can stay aware and be prepared for whatever the future holds. I think remote work has really shifted a lot of things. And so there will be a lot of unknowns in the future. And so I think the sooner you can pick up on some of these interesting trends, the better off you'll be. And yeah, today I want to talk about this really interesting thing I just found online when I was browsing Twitter. So basically, WeWork and Saks Fifth Avenue is they're kind of collaborating together. They're going to take some of the retail space from Saks Fifth Avenue, which, for those who are unaware, it's a luxury department store. They have a lot of space. WeWork, for those who are unaware of WeWork, it's probably the most well-known kind of co-working space company that had kind of this really steep climb and this very steep fall. But they're still around. And unlike a lot of people, I think there's a lot of interesting things that WeWork can do. And I think that this story right here, which I'll get into, is a perfect example of what we can expect moving forward. So yeah, let's just walk through. I'm going to read through the article and I'll give you a little bit of commentary and we can talk about like the implications. So Saks Fifth Avenue is teaming up with co-working company WeWork to convert some of its retail space into office space as customers continue to do more of their shopping online. The luxury department store will open the first Saks Works, terrible name, spaces in September in the New York metro area, including its flagship store across Rockefeller Center, known for its elaborate Christmas displays. According to a Wall Street Journal report, the company will be setting up a shared office space in Saks' former children's store on the 10th floor of the building. Another Saks Works store will move into the shuttered men's store in Lower Manhattan, and others will open stores in Manhasset on Long Island, in Scarsdale and Westchester, Greenwich, Connecticut, according to the report. The pandemic has changed so much about our lives, including how we work and where we live. I'm thrilled to join Saks Works in its efforts to serve the millions of Americans who now work remotely from the suburban homes or who find themselves as part-time commuters in this hybrid world, Saks Works President Amy Nelson said in a statement on Tuesday. The move comes as the pandemic squeezes the already suffering businesses of bricks and mortar retail. Foot traffic has been down as consumers buy more things online. The pain is especially acute for stores in non-residential areas that rely heavily on tourists and office workers, like Midtown Manhattan, where Saks' flagship store is located. Saks Fifth Avenue is owned by Toronto-based Hudson's Bay Company, which owns much of its real estate holdings, including some buildings where it operated the Lord & Taylor department store brand it sold a couple of years ago. Et cetera, et cetera. Most of the desks will be on wheels, so the layouts can change. The cost to workers will be $299 a month, according to the report. WeWork will operate the spaces in return for a cut of revenue, but won't have to pay any rent, the journal reports. It's not the first time WeWork and HBC have worked together. They struck a deal in 2019 when WeWork acquired the Lord & Taylor flagship building for $850 million. Here's one last quick thing as well. There's a significant untapped potential for third-party usage of WeWork's proprietary workplace management technology, which for a decade has powered how we operate, manage, and sell our spaces with a member-focused mindset. WeWork CEO Sandeep Mathrani said in a statement, "Today with the HBC, we take the first step towards expanding our technology platform." So this is a really interesting article, and I think at the surface, it kind of looks like very ho-hum. Right? It's like, okay, cool. WeWork and, a luxury department store. Cool. Whatever. Like, they're both kind of struggling, right? Well, I think, like, underneath the surface, there's some really interesting things here. So, the first thing I'd like to point out is that they talk about, so Saks Worth President Amy Nelson says, "I'm thrilled to join Saks Worth on its efforts to serve the millions of Americans who now work remotely from their suburban homes or who find themselves as part-time commuters in this hybrid world." Okay, so they're kind of like they're serving up this value proposition of like, oh, it's great for, people who are part-time commuters or who work remotely from their suburban homes. Okay, cool. However, the first couple locations are in downtown, midtown Manhattan, right? And so I think there's another location that they said basically the two first locations that they're testing out are not in the suburbs. So how I interpret this, and maybe I'm completely wrong here, is that uh, Saks Fifth Avenue. Sorry, I spaced out on the name. Saks Fifth Avenue is basically hurting bad, right? They have a lot of space for their department store. Not nearly as many people are coming in, and they're like, "What can we use this space for?" Well, with people shopping online, they don't get the foot traffic. How do you get the foot traffic? Because maybe if you can get some foot traffic, well, then maybe you can start to recover at least a little bit of your retail sales, right? And so it naturally makes sense. They have a lot of space and they need foot traffic. Okay, so that makes sense to partner with WeWork because you can get the foot traffic, you can get those people coming into the quote unquote office, and and then they can, basically try to generate some in-store sales. However, I think this is also a sign that um, Saks Fifth Avenue really could use a little bit of revenue, right? So they're just trying to use this space, no matter how, like, no matter what it takes, use the space, right? And so it seems like they're really trying to protect some downside here. It's like if we could generate any revenue right now, yay, right? So that's kind of the Saks Fifth Avenue side of the story, right? And what's really interesting is it's like WeWork almost has this completely different agenda, right? So sure, it's like whatever, like it says WeWork will operate the spaces in return for a cut of revenue, but won't have to pay any rent. I.e., there's all upside here for WeWork, right? They don't have to pay um, rent, and they can test this new model. Now, what I think is going to happen is WeWork has this ulterior motive here, and I think they got a sweet deal, right? And so I think here's what's going to happen. WeWork is going to finally make the transition away from being a quote unquote kind of real estate company, right? Signing all these rent and office space, right? Locking in these long-term leases and kind of doing all this rehab. But instead, I think that they are moving more and more into a software play, which I maybe was their goal all along. But it says there is a significant untapped potential for third-party usage of WeWork's proprietary workplace management technology, which for a decade has powered how we operate, manage, and sell our spaces with a member-focused mindset. So when I see this, here's what I think. Okay, Saks Fifth Avenue is hurting. WeWork is also trying to productize and become more of a software company than a real estate company. And I think how I read this is that WeWork is interested in building software for people like Saks Fifth Avenue who have a lot of space, they need people in it, and they need to make some money, right? So I think here's what's going to happen. WeWork will probably end up selling some type of subscription so that you have these kind of hurting commercial real estate, not vendors, but landlords who are sitting on a bunch of empty space. Maybe it's vacant. And then, but you also have this demand for kind of co-working space, kind of spin it up, spin it down. So I've always thought, the opportunity of the future is kind of two things. One is if you own commercial real estate, you should somehow partner with a software provider, ideally one who already has a network in place so that you can start utilizing that space and generate revenue, right? And so I think WeWork is actually in a wonderful position to do this because I already have a brand. It's not, it's been beat up a little bit, but they have a network. They have a bit of a network effect. And so they have an opportunity to sign these commercial office spaces to not dig into the real estate, but instead to sell software. So I think that's really, really interesting. And I think the second thing that's going to happen over the long term is it would not surprise me if WeWork, I think they will try to sell a monthly subscription as long as they can, but it would not surprise me if they offer a service where you can basically kind of scale up and scale down your usage. So instead of paying a monthly membership, instead you pay like a meaningful amount more for 2 day passes a month. And I think that this is basically a beta test of what we can see in the future. So, long story short, you have a herding luxury department store with a lot of space. You have a kind of a company that has fallen from grace that is looking for a newer, better model, which software provides, especially software as a service. And I think what you're going to see is that WeWork, if they learn and if they see what they like, it would not surprise me if they expand to a bunch of other locations and start signing agreements with other people, especially commercial real estate, landlords. So anyway, I think that this is very much a sign of things to come. It's not necessarily about Saks Fifth Avenue, but it's more about WeWork building a subscription service that can then be deployed with these hurting and struggling commercial office space vendors. So I think that's a sign of things to come. And I think all of a sudden WeWork could be much, much more interesting. So anyway, I hope this makes sense. I hope this was interesting. I think it's going to happen. But anyway, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I hope this was a good use of your time. Thanks. Bye.